I want to welcome each of you back to the Dang Right, a Melissa football podcast with Coach Nally. I'm your host, Coach Nally. I want to thank Mr. Kramen and the duo of Max and Shipp. You know, Shipp had to get his schedule changed, but he will always be in our hearts on the Dang Right podcast. So the solo act of Max for putting on this podcast. Max is like Superman. He's always there to save the day. Our guest today is someone that I've had the pleasure of watching going on year 2 of coaching here at Melissa. He is an A&M fanatic, loves rope hats, and coaches our tight ends here at Melissa. Today's guest is the man, the myth, and the legend, known as Coach Tyler Scoggin. Coach Scoggin, welcome to the show.
Oh, appreciate it.
Yeah, dang right, dude. Dang right. Good opening line there, Coach. That's what I'm talking about. Coach, first question I always ask is, give us the life story of Tyler Scoggin.
Well, I was born in Palestine, Texas, out in East Texas.
Go Wildcats.
I say it's the promised land of East Texas.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Was born to a teaching and coaching family. Both my dad and my mom are both in the education field. Dad coached for a while, then got out, was a principal and a athletic director, superintendent, principal, all that good stuff.
Dang right.
Mom taught for many years, and then she moved and was a librarian towards the end of her career. But lived most of my life in Palestine, was around football, around just school in general. And then 4th grade moved to Livingston. Dad took a job there, moved to Livingston for a year, and then moved back to Palestine, where I went to Oakwood.
Oakwood Panthers, baby.
Went to Oakwood for from 5th grade to 8th grade, and then moved again to Weatherford my freshman year of high school, and that's where I went to high school. And then, but grew up in the country, grew up in a coaching family, so I've been around sports and football my entire life.
So, but Weatherford's where you met your wife, correct?
Weatherford is we started dating our sophomore year of high school. Got married, dated all the way through. Got married, graduated on Thursday from college at A&M, and then got married on Saturday.
Dang right.
And then we've been married and moved to McKinney, and then now we're in Melissa.
Dang right. That's awesome, man. That is awesome. I started dating my wife when I was a senior. You were a sophomore in high school?
Sophomore in high school.
Y'all the same age?
We are.
Oh, that's cool, man. That's awesome. All right. I asked this last week because I had an Aggie on the podcast last week, and I'm still like, don't understand it. But maybe you can clear it up for me. Man, what is up with Aggies being fanatics about Texas A&M?
So there's just some about A&M. I mean,
okay, that's it.
I've grown up around
just something
it.
About peanut butter and jelly. You know
I grew up an Aggie. My brother and my sister both graduated from A&M. My uncle played at A&M. Mom and dad both went to SFA, but they always say they gave enough money to A&M that they're honorary Aggies. But no, I mean, for me, it's always been, you're not an Aggie unless you go to school there. These other schools like Texas, your big schools, Alabama, Texas, Georgia, like there's a bunch of just fans.
Yeah.
T-shirt fans.
Yeah.
I always make fun of people all the time. I'm like, you bought your shirt at Walmart. But to be an Aggie, a lot of times you go to school there. A lot of Aggies don't know. There's not a lot of Aggie fans that didn't go to school there or don't have ties there family-wise, that sort of stuff. But, I mean, we have this battered Aggie syndrome, and our number one saying is there's always next year. So sports-wise, I mean, hey, it gets rough sometimes, and it's been a long few years, but some of the sports have been good. Baseball was good this year. Basketball was all right. Football hopefully will be better. But like we always say, there's always next year.
I think, Max, they've already started that. It's going to get better next year in football because I'm a huge Notre Dame fan, and they just beat the Aggies in football over the weekend.
They did.
You know, I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that. Okay, Coach. So you come from a teaching, coaching family. But with that being said, man, who inspired you to get into education and who inspired you to get into coaching?
I mean, the best one would probably be my dad. He's probably the one that inspired me the most, just being around him. But if I had to choose another one other than my dad, going with that route, it would probably be Weldon Nelms, who was my head football coach in high school. Coach Nelms kind of just instilled the wanting us to do better and wanting other people other than himself, putting kids first, putting his other coaches first. He wants everybody to do better and puts them before himself. And so seeing that as a kid, as a high school kid, and playing under him for 3 years in high school, it made me want to do that as well. Not necessarily the fact that I was around it my entire life, but seeing another guy other than my father be that exact same way that my dad was, really pushed me to that route.
Dang right.
Yes,
Right. What about like teaching? Was there a teacher, man, that you're like, man, that guy's a great, like for me, it was Greg Mason. He was my geometry teacher, and I was terrible at geometry. Like I was going to fail the first or second 6 weeks, and yet it's a long story. I'm not a smart person, but is there a teacher that you were like, man, that person really inspired me to be a teacher as well?
In high school, it was probably either Stacy Tharp or Cliff Trammell.
Okay.
Miss Tharp was my junior year English teacher, and then Mr. Trammell was my senior year English teacher. Now I'm not an English teacher. I can't do it. But just being around them and taking their classes both those years, it showed me how to be a teacher essentially, and how to help those kids and take kids that maybe struggle with certain things and help them succeed.
That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. All right, man. Well, what drew you to teach science?
So I studied my first couple years of college. My first year I studied physical therapy. My second and third year I was biomedical science. Trying to go the veterinary route.
Oh, dude.
And then I changed those last 2 years. Once I really got fully into A&M, I changed to education and wanted to do that and went that route. And science was what I knew. And to me, science is the most interesting thing to teach. It's not numbers all the time, and you can do some stuff with it and apply it to real life always.
I taught science for, oh my gosh, man, I'm going to say like 5 or 6 years. I taught 7th grade science for 3 years, and then I ended up teaching forensics for a few years. I really enjoyed forensics when I was at Cayuga High School or Cayuga Middle School. I taught 7th grade science, and I was potentially the worst teacher in the history of teachers. And I remember one of the subjects that we're talking about whatever, and I'm big into conspiracies and whatnot. A kid brought up ghosts, and I guarantee you, Coach, we talked about ghosts in my science class for a good week. I was just so enamored, like, yeah, ghosts could be scientific. So are ghosts scientific, Coach?
That's
a no, guys. Okay,
I'm going to say no on that one. I'm going to say no.
It might be an Aggie question. Yeah, Max, you got that, didn't you, Max? That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so you coach tight ends and you played tight end. Coach, who is the greatest tight end of all time?
Probably number one, I would have to say, would be Rob Gronkowski.
Oh, okay. So why, man? Tell me that.
I mean, he does it. He did it all. He blocked. He caught. He was dominant in the blocking game and the run game. He was dominant in the passing game. Now he got hurt, and that kind of cut his career short, it seemed like. But I think greatest overall tight end would be him. I think probably my favorite tight end though is Antonio Gates.
I got you.
That's my favorite all time. Now,
I got you.
Just from what he did as a receiver tight end, and now when I got to college, that wasn't me. I was a blocking tight end, but just watching him as I was growing up, Antonio Gates was one guy that I had on my list all the time, or that I watched all the time, that kind of made me want to be that.
Dude, let's go down this. I mean, Shannon Sharp, unbelievable, right? Okay, we can go way back and bring up Ozzie Newsome and things like that, but. Dude, Dallas Clark, is this out of your?
No, that was Dallas Clark.
Okay. What about Jay Novacek, man?
That was a little out of mine.
I
know the name, but that's a little out of me.
Know the name. He's a Cowboy legend, man.
He is.
I think probably the greatest tight end of all time is, you can go to, everyone had their opinions about, if you're going to be a great tight end, you got to block and you got to catch. But I still think Shannon Sharp's got to be up there.
I think you can throw Tony Gonzalez up there, too.
I was fixing to say Tony Gonzalez, to me, probably has got to be that number one.
I would put him at probably number two.
Yeah.
Gronk at one, him at two.
He just did it. He just did it all. So, okay, let me ask you this, man. What was it like with your parents working at the school that you went to?
Oh, I mean, it had its perks and it also had its downfalls. I felt like I was held to a higher standard by the coaches and the teachers and people that were around the school, just because my dad was, at that point when I was in high school, he was the athletic director, and in middle school he's the superintendent. But I think it made me a better person. Downfalls of it were there was a few times in middle school I was a little troublemaker in middle school in elementary, and so there was a few times where I'd get sent to the office for whatever reason it was. At that point, I didn't really understand why I was getting sent to the office. And somehow Dad would be, he'd be walking into the office as soon as I got there. And so it never failed. I'd be sent to the office and Dad would be walking in, and he always had a saying. He was like, at school, I'm your principal, and at home, I'm your dad. So, you know, sometimes I got the punishment twice, but it is what it is. But it made me a better person, and it made me carry myself, I feel like, differently, because I felt like, and I know you talk about it all the time, and our kids talk about it all the time, but the standard here at Melissa, but I had a standard at my house and a standard outside of my house that I knew I had to uphold always, even if my parents weren't around, even if nobody was watching. I had to uphold that standard. Yeah. So
I never went to the same school. My mom was a teacher. I never went to the same school that she worked at. But, you know, I don't remember. I was in high school. I don't remember what grade I was in, but she worked at the neighboring town's school. And there was a report that I skipped school. And so I got called to the principal's office, and I called made me call my mom and whatnot. And my mom was like, "No, he didn't skip. I saw him leave. Yada yada. I'm on the air, Max. I skipped school, but I got away from it, or I got away with it. But I did work with my mom. I did work with her in the same school, and it's the same thing. You know, you kind of held to a different standard, but it's a good standard. You know, and it's a standard that you want to, make high, because you don't want to embarrass anybody. You want to embarrass your name and things like that, and you want to make your parents proud. So I understand that. All right, this is a big deal for me. Okay, I'm just being honest with you. These next two questions, Max, are big to me. Okay, this speaks a lot about who you are as a person. Puffy Cheetos or crunchy Cheetos?
I think there's a time and a place.
Are you serious right now?
For both. I mean, my favorite is going to be the crunchy Cheetos.
Okay, yep.
But I think there is a time and a place. Like,
what is this? What is?
I mean,
this
I feel like the time and the place is maybe when my sister's around and my brother-in-law and my niece and nephew were there.
It's Puffy time.
It's Puffy Cheeto time, because that's all they want.
It's never Puffy Cheeto time.
But no, I would prefer crunchy Cheetos. And I mean, growing up, I'd get a turkey and cheese sandwich with mustard and put the Cheetos on there, or Doritos on there.
Right. That sounds amazing.
But hey,
amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a big one for me too. Crunchy peanut butter or smooth?
I'm gonna have to go smooth.
Oh my!
I'm gonna have to go smooth. Dude, can't do crunchy.
Tell me why.
Gosh, something about the texture.
Are you serious?
It's something with it. I mean, I have to go smooth. If I'm eating peanut butter and jelly, I want smooth peanut butter.
No, dude, it's got to be crunchy peanut butter. It's got to be crunchy peanut butter. It's just, I mean, it says a lot about a person, Max, if they go smooth peanut butter, and it says more about that person if they go puffy Cheetos. Okay, you got to go crunchy peanut butter. You just have to. And crunchy Cheetos, like, it is what it is. There is no time for puffy Cheetos in your life. There is no time for smooth peanut butter in your life unless you don't have crunchy peanut butter. That's it. Okay, so I disagree with the second one. And I half disagree with the first one. No time for puffy Cheetos in anyone's life. Okay. So why is being an educator important, and why'd you pick this profession?
I kind of hit on it a little bit earlier, but really, I mean, I feel like I want to, and I feel like God has put me in this position and put it on my heart to just try to make a difference in kids' lives and really just set them up for success, or try to at least give them what they need and be an influence on those kids, and kind of help point them in a direction and to where they can be successful and achieve their goals. And that's really what I want to do is help kids achieve what they want to achieve.
Dang right. And that's something that I believe that every educator is trying to do, is trying to guide kids through life. It's not just about learning math or science or history or whatever the case may be. And, I remember being a kid and saying, why am I learning this? I'm never going to learn this again. Now, I even say it today, like my kids will be like, why am I learning this? And I'll be like, I don't know why you're learning that. But my wife always comes in and is like, this is a great thing. You need this for, I was terrible at math. So it's normally math or like, why do I need commas and stuff? It's terrible at English too. So, but there's so much more to it than just math and science and stuff like that. It's about life. It's about learning how to be a great person and learning how to cooperate and work with other people and all those other things that go with our profession than just teaching, addition, subtraction. Max, what's a hard thing in math, or what's a very hard? You're great at math. It's no big. Okay, you're great at math. Okay, so what's hard? Like, what's a hard history question? Like, who was the first person to sign the Declaration of Independence? Okay, then. All right, all right. So with that being said, it's more than just that. So I'm excited to be about be in education because of that piece of it. For you, what is the most important thing about being in athletics or just an extracurricular activity?
Just as a student being an extracurricular?
Man, well, as a student, but also as an educator, like you're looking at it and you're like, this is beneficial because.
I think as a student, it's good because it broadens your ability to interact with different people that you wouldn't necessarily be able to interact with in class. But B, it shows that you're willing to do different things at different times. And being a person that can do all these things, whether it's football, baseball, basketball, theater, band, all that sort of stuff. I mean, in high school, I played football, basketball, and then ran track. I played baseball up until my freshman year of high school. So I didn't ever play in high school, but I was around those guys and friends with those guys.
Right.
And then, I mean, as a coach, I think it's good to be involved with those athletics and extracurriculars, because it allows those kids and allows for me to interact with the students and the kids that we're around every day in a different environment.
Right. Right.
We're able to maybe build different relationships than we would in the classroom. We're able to, I feel like, get to know the kids at a deeper level and find out things that their teachers or regular teachers maybe don't know. Right. And so we're able to connect with them on that front. But I think it also gives us an advantage in the classroom because we're able to hold those kids to a different standard and push them in a different way and be able to reach them differently than what a teacher who only sees them once a day for 45 minutes does.
Dang right, dude. That's a pretty good answer. Hey, so who is the first person to sign the Declaration of Independence? Because I can't get Tommy Boy out of my head, and Herbie Hancock is the only thing. It's John Hancock. It's John Hancock.
I didn't know he was I knew he was the biggest, but I didn't know he was the first.
No, John Hancock. I'm sitting there thinking, Herbie Hancock. Yeah. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, Max. Tommy Boy. Great show. Great show. Okay. Well, let's discuss your hat and clothing line you've started up. Are you trying to be like the Olsen twins? What's going on with this Tyler Scoggin hat and clothing line?
So it's a buddy of mine, Garrett Murray. He graduated from Melissa High School, I believe, in 2018. But it's mine and his, and we've kind of started it, but it's called Talmud Hat Company. Say
that again?
Talmud, Talmid.
What does that mean?
But it's the Hebrew word for disciple.
Okay, gotcha.
And so, but what we're going to do is we're going to make just hats and sell them and then make some clothing along the way as well. Garrett's currently a firefighter in Plano. Yeah. And so we're going to make some clothing and hats and stuff for the fire departments around and whatever they need. And then we'll make our own stuff and sell it as well. But no, I mean, I have a passion for hats. I don't know why, but I love hats and being around the office. I have a ton of different hats. I almost bought another one last night, but then I didn't. But my buddy Garrett, he designs them, and then I kind of he designs kind of the logo, and then I kind of put it all together and get it rolling. But we're going to be live probably with it. We're shooting for January.
kind
of launching it all and going.
Dang
and
right.
so right now we're just kind of in the preparation process of the whole thing. But no, I'd say we're not really trying to be the Olsen twins.
Yeah, dang right.
Just really trying to make some extra money on the side, and I mean, spread God's word at the same time. And so that's really what it's all about. So
I will say this, you know, you let us buy a few hats kind of pre-kickoff, and they are pretty sweet. They're cool designs. You guys do a really good job. I'm going to tell a Garrett Murray story real quick.
Go ahead.
I coached Garrett Murray, and we were doing Skelly, or people call it 7-on-7 or whatever, but you don't have an offensive line or a defensive line. And he goes, Coach Nally, can I check it to a run? And I don't know if you know anything about Skelly too. Skelly's all about throwing it. And
yeah,
I said,
no running the ball.
No running.
Defensive
Skelly,
coaches get mad if you
no
run
running
the
in Skelly. And I said, Garrett, what? And he goes, Coach, it's wide open.
Hey.
Like, no, Garrett, you cannot check it to a run.
If you like the front, run it. Let's go.
He's one of my favorite kids, Garrett Murray.
No, but he's a great guy, and so I'm excited about that. See where it potentially could go.
Yeah, yeah. And you know so let me ask you this. This is a little off script, but like, is it coming back? Is the rope hat coming back? Is the trucker hat coming back? Because when I was a kid, it was all about a fitted hat, you know, and no one did the flat bill stuff. It was, you know, you're going to put a good bend in your hat. And then the trucker hat was there for just a little bit, you know, maybe early 2000s, and then it was gone.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is it making a return, or is it just a Tyler Scoggin thing?
No, I think it's all coming back. And so the rope hat's real big right now if you look at just different companies that are doing it. But the trucker hats too, I mean, it's all kind of, and that's how fashion really works, is it's just on a cycle. Like it'll be up one time and then it'll be down at the bottom and then it'll come back and it just rotates. So
Max, what do you want to come back? I want all vintage clothes to come back.
That's it. I mean, vintage is back.
Yeah, I think I want that. I want not bikey shorts. You never wore bikey shorts, Max. You're way too young. You're too young to Coach Scoggin. When I was a kid, bikey shorts were a big deal.
I don't even know what bikey shorts are.
Don't look them up. It's bad. It's bad. But you know, I actually, you know, I bought a couple rope hats, and I'm going to shout out to the Spirit Locker, because I went over there and they did some embroidery, and it was awesome what they did for me. So the Spirit Locker is fantastic. Okay, so as a coach, sometimes you have to play scout team, okay? You have to give your team a good look. So today, Coach, you were playing scout team quarterback. Let's talk about that. You got destroyed. Let's discuss that.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. Every now and then when you're off balance, you get blindsided by a kid running full speed and you go down.
That's what he says, Max. He wasn't off balance. Like, he was running as fast as he can in a straight line, and he got killed.
Hey, so no, I mean, I was playing scout Q and ran counter bash essentially, and pulled it and ran and stopped in the hole. And one of our kids was on the ground, so I went to kind of hop over him and got blindsided by Creighton Clipperton.
Yeah, the clip came in.
He took me out.
Heck yeah.
I landed hard. I had to make sure the kid on the ground was okay, because 255 pounds coming down on top of him doesn't feel good.
Well, let me ask you this. Have you ever been, like, injured doing it?
Scout team?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I've had bruises before. I had a kid one time. I was a scout scout quarterback in Skelly at McKinney Boyd when I was there, and I threw the ball and he put his helmet square in my ribs.
Oh, Lordy!
And I was pretty mad about that one. But no, not seriously injured. But
Coach, I have broken playing scout team quarterback. I've broken my orbital bone above my right eye.
Mm-hmm.
I have broken my nose. The one kid that broke my nose went and played defensive tackle at Texas Tech. Same thing. I mean, we were in the spread, and this is right at the beginning of this spread, like, surge throughout Texas, and the zone read. And right when I caught it to put the ball down, his helmet met my nose and split my nose open and broke my nose. And, you know, just like you said, just basics, bloody lips and whatnot. But there's a lot that goes into it, Max. Like, you can get seriously injured out there, bro.
I caught Jackson Ford last year. I caught a helmet under the chin. I was helping. We were doing some indie and his helmet caught me right on the chin, split my chin open.
Yeah, heck yeah.
It wasn't great. Didn't feel good.
All right. Well, you know what? I want to thank Coach Tyler Scoggin for spending some time with us on the podcast today. Coach Scoggin, is there anything that you'd like to add or any final thoughts you'd like to share with our listeners before we conclude?
You know, I mean, everybody wants to be us, but get 'em Ags, and you know, appreciate everybody's support and all that stuff. And
man.
Thursday, or I don't, when is this airing? Is it?
Tuesdays, Thursdays, something like that.
Okay.
Whenever Mr. Kramen and Max say, "Hey,
I was going to
it's
say,
time."
can't wait to show out on Thursday night at the Star, but I don't know if it'll be out or not by then. So no, but no, I appreciate you having me on and being able to answer some of your questions and do all those things.
I really, really appreciate it. You know, I mean, we're kind of going global with the Dang Ride podcast. You know, I think that we've made it to Bonham. So, you know,
it's a long ways away.
Yeah. So, but thank you for being here. Well, thank you for listening to the Dang Right podcast with Coach Nally. Thank you to our guest, Coach Scoggin, and thank you again to Mr. Kramen and his students for putting this podcast together. Have a great week, and it's always a great day to be a Cardinal.
Thank you.